Hello. Napoleon's Last Battles. One of my favourites from many years ago. I had I think the TSR version. And whilst I love what it did in terms of it covered the 100 days campaign, the Ligny and the Quatre Bras on the 16th of June, and then the day of marching and retreating on the 17th, followed by the engagements at Waterloo and Wavre on the 18th. I love what it did, but it always left me with a nagging suspicion that the combat system didn't really work. It seemed to make an effort to put in some feel for the Napoleonic type of engagements. There was a combined arms modifier, but it still didn't really feel quite right to me. The setting up stacks on every other hex, because the combat system was really a retreat driven system where you really only got successes by being able to force the defender to retreat into a friendly zoc of yours, and thereby wiping out the stack. So that led to the defensive tactics of the game, essentially defending on every other hex to avoid the losses by being forced to retreat into an enemy zone of control. So it just felt a bit strange, although I've always had a bit of a love for the game and what it tried to do. So very excited when OSG decided to re-release the series of games, and I've picked up a few of them. And whilst the overall package in terms of the presentation has been massively increased, I think the counters are very nice now, and the maps, I would say, second to none, and the overall visual impact of seeing the counters on the map is certainly a very attractive one. At its core, the system hasn't really changed very much. You've still got the push based CRT. There are a few more efforts to add a bit of extra a Napoleonic flavour. There's a cavalry charge table, there's a bombardment table, and there's a spin-off from the standard CRT which leads you to a shock table. But all of these things essentially do the same thing in terms of the retreats that they can create. And I watched with great interest the Chris Muller's I think the sort of Thursday night gamers, when they were doing the extended campaign game of Napoleon's Last Gamble, and which starts on the 15th with, I think, the French crossing the Sambre and hitting the pickets of one of the Prussian corps, either I think the Prussian Second Corps. Very interesting to watch, and one of the comments that struck me was that I think on the 16th, a few hours into the starting of the Battle of Ligny, they got an exchange result, and someone made the comment, "Oh, that's the first loss being incurred by the French," which left me thinking, but they've been fighting for over a day, and that's the first nominal loss that the French have received. So there's no sense of any attrition, there's no wearing down of the troops that were engaged on both sides, and that wasn't really my reading of the historical commentaries. There's a good in the La Bataille system. I had a few of those, and I had the La Bataille of Ligny, and there was a very interesting historical article in there which focused on the fighting in Ligny, which confirmed to me that it was a very attritional battle, losses being incurred on both sides. And so I was looking for something else, and searching on Concept World and maybe also Board Game Geek, I noticed that Marcus Stumpner had done an alternative set of rules for essentially the Napoleon's Last Battle systems, and decided to give it a go. And I liked what it was trying to do. It separated the combat into a single table where you didn't have to worry about odds. It was just you have a certain number of strength points and you fire on a table. He also added an orders system, which I haven't tried. I just used the combat system. I was primarily looking for a way to plug a different combat system into the underlying game, which had been provided by OSG. And whilst I like what Marcus did, I found that the combat could be quite bloody, because it's a 2d6 system. On the extreme ends of the table you start rolling 10s and 11s, even with just a couple of units. So you may get, say, a couple of French brigades, maybe give you 10 strength points. You'd roll a 10 or something and maybe get 3 hits on the defender, which would essentially blow away most of a double stack. So I decided to take what he'd done and run with it a bit, and just slightly reduce the losses that were incurred on the table, which is what I've done, and I've thrown together a set of rules to go with it, and I'm just currently trying it out. So it may still prove to be a step too far coming backwards, because you can, just to add that there is a means to reduce the number of losses suffered in the system. If you take a voluntary retreat, you do half your losses. So there were ways of to sort of mitigate the extreme rolls of the 2d6 system, but you could get up to I forget what the exact figures were now. Here we go. So yeah, if you had, say, 10 factors and you managed to roll 11 or 12, you would do either 4 or 5 losses, which I tried it and I found that I didn't particularly like the extreme ends of the table. So that's why I changed what I'm sort of trying to do here. So I'm just going to give you a quick walk around the battle. It's I've got up to just starting the 6 PM turn on June 16th. The French Corps of Labow has just will be entering this turn with a march order. Derlon's corps has failed to do anything. They haven't reacted yet. The French commanders were a little late getting up. They had a bit of a lay-in at the start of the 16th, so they didn't wake up until I think the 2nd or 3rd turn when I got some of them active. So the assault on Ligny was late starting, because Gerard also refused to act independently. It took Grouchy to get behind him with a size 9 boot to get him to do something. The Prussian Second Corps has taken a bit of a battering. They're not demoralised yet, but they're not far off it. And the French have taken Ligny, and they've also kicked the Prussians out of Saint-Amand. Thielmann's Prussian Third Corps has been particularly lazy. Hasn't done anything. Thielmann can't get his act together. The Prussian First Corps has filled in to the Second Corps' right and have been threatening Vandamme. So that's all still in the balance a bit. Quatre Bras Rye has taken the farmhouse. There have been a few losses on both sides. At the moment the French have got the edge in terms of numbers, but there are many British reinforcements on the way. There's the British 1st Guards Division, and I think the 3rd has just turned up, and there's some more. The rest of the Brunswickers are coming down the main route from Brussels, all in road order. So the numbers there are about to turn. So if D'Erlon does finally get a message that makes sense to him, he may decide to force march. Well, not force march, he might decide to go into march order and go to support the French at Ligny, but they're probably going to be more needed at Quatre Bras. Okay, so here's Quatre Bras. You can see Picton is actually at the crossroads. He's actually stacked on his own. He's got a flipped artillery unit just to his right. The French have moved up the road, in control of the area for now. But you see up this road here, we've got the British 1st Division and some of Uxbridge's cavalry are coming down the road towards Quatre Bras, and further up the Brussels road, the units you can see there's a couple of Brunswick units, and I think a Nassau unit which are moving towards the area of concern. D'Erlon's corps still unmoved from the day, and we sweep across here and we'll get to Ligny. So you've got the French heavy cavalry corps, which have just dispatched some of the Prussian 3rd Corps cavalry with a few losses. Sorry, Prussian 2nd Corps cavalry with a few losses. And the French are taking control of Saint-Amand. You can see Napoleon there. And Gerard has finally been persuaded by Grouchy to assault Ligny, which he's done quite successfully. And Thielmann is still having a very late breakfast, waiting to do anything. There's been a few of the Prussian 3rd Corps that have moved under their own initiative, but they've largely been static. So I'm going to crack on with it. I'm interested to see how the general retreat order works at night time, where I guess the Prussians will have to pull back a bit to try and rebuild their 1st Corps, which has had quite a few losses. So there you go.